how to solve the debt in a minute or less. Last year we had a $1.4 trillion deficit, an all-time record, but not a record by 10 or 20%, a record by 400%. We bailed out Wall Street, the insurance companies, the auto industries. We passed an $800 billion stimulus package, none of which I was for, by the way. But this year you would think at least we would be better off. We're not bailing anybody out. But no, this year we have a new record yet again, $1.6 trillion. The fact of the matter is we have got to cut spending. We don't need to raise taxes, we've got to cut spending. We've had every person in this room, all of you, all of us, know instinctually that we cannot spend more money than what we take in. If we did, we would all be bankrupt. For some reason, our elected officials, when they go to Washington, they think that they don't have to live with the same rules of economics that the rest of us do. But when in fact, they do. And if they don't get the government's house in order, financial house in order, the same thing will occur to this government. I think what we're doing to our children is immoral. We're spending away their wealth, and I think that it's got to be stopped, and there's no question in my mind that there's plenty of governmental waste, and we need to cut the spending, not raise the taxes.
Again, in 2 minutes or less, I think it's a very simple answer, believe it or not. I have a budget in my house. I have a checkbook in my back pocket. I know the amount of money I bring in. I know the amount of money I can spend before I overdraw my account. If we continue to spend more than we make or we bring in, we will never see this problem resolved. Our national budget actually in the next 2 years is expected to peak at nearly $4 trillion. The interest that we pay on the loans that we owe to Asia come in at nearly $200 billion a year. $200 billion a year in interest on our national debt. That would cover the state of Pennsylvania's budget for next year nearly 7 times over. We are being bought from within by the Asian continents and by foreign investment in our country that we can no longer afford to allow. We need to stop spending more than we have, get a budget under control, and whenever we go to Social Security is a complicated issue, but it's one that really needs to be addressed, because in the year 2016, we are going to start tapping into funds in the Social Security Trust Fund that we don't have. Right now, Social Security is a pipeline from the working man to the retired man. In 2016, we begin tapping that trust of money that we don't have, that we've issued bonds on, and by 2042, we're out of money. Thank you.
We're halfway through our questions. Thank you, Mr. Burns. As a new congressman, what can you do to help bring federal contract work to this region?
You know, when I go around and I talk with people all around this district, that isn't a question that I get asked. You know, people don't go up to me and say, you know, how can you bring back a federal contract? You know, what people are really concerned about is how do I have a job? How do my children have a job? What are we going to do to create jobs that will allow our children to stay here? And so that's the concern. And the question is, how do we create jobs? And is it the government's responsibility to create every job? And in fact, when you look at it, the government doesn't create jobs. The government may hire people, but when they do, they're taking money from you in order to do that. You know, in the new health care bill, they're hiring 16,000 new IRS agents. That, to me, isn't job creation. To me, job creation, and I've done it. I've created over 400 jobs in my business. I understand what it takes. And it doesn't take the government. What it takes is the freedom for businesses to be able to do what they do, and that's provide good services, hire people, and create jobs by providing good quality products. So we need an environment that will attract real businesses that want to come here. How do we do that? We do that by improving the infrastructure. Like I said, both traditional and technological infrastructure right here that will attract businesses. We need to create tax breaks for job creators. Right now, we punish job creators. For some reason, this administration believes that whenever a company is successful in creating jobs, we should punish them. We should make it more difficult. We need to eliminate or reduce the bureaucratic red tape. You know, I meet with the banking industry, I've met with the healthcare industry, the energy industry. Every one of these folks in these industries tell me that I'm the most regulated industry. We need to eliminate the bureaucratic red tape.
I think that we've all watched the news this week and seen that a number of our defense contractors are either downsizing or pulling out of the region. We all know that the chairmanship of the Defense Appropriations Committee is gone. That said, there are 21 permanent committees in the House of Representatives. And I think in order to rebuild our region and attract companies back to the 9-county, 12 congressional district, the environment that businesses come into is vitally important. So whenever you say, how do I create that environment, a number of the committees that I'm looking at that I would like to be a participant on are the committees for the Education and Labor, Transportation and Infrastructure, and Energy and Commerce. They're not sexy issues, as Mark says, and they're not things that people want to talk about, but they're vitally important to the growth of this area. When you bring an employer to town and you ask them to spend millions of dollars to relocate a business here, to hire perhaps untrained people to fill those positions, one thing that they want to know is that they can move their product to market, that their people will enjoy a quality of life unmatched in other areas of the country, and at the end of the day, they'll make a buck. Here you get a great bang for your buck, and everybody knows that, or we wouldn't see the Lockheeds and Boeings and the like here in this region. What we need to do is make it attractive. And I think in some places on television, they call it a makeover. We saw in Boswell the other day where they did a new entrance to town, and there's a little park there. When you drive into town, the feeling that you get as you drive in, that's what we're talking about. Is just give a good, warm, fuzzy feeling when you come to town. We know this is a place we want to live. Thank you.